everyone, welcome to another edition of Lab Rats. My name's Andy Walker, and that's Sean Carruthers. Hey dude, theme music over. Well, the reason Sean is rocking out right now is because today we're going to show you a more advanced show, more than usual anyway. We're going to get away from the soccer mom stuff for a change, and teach you something useful. Absolutely. And
How to play the Lab Rats theme.
On GarageBand.
GarageBand.
This accommodates a bunch of different requests that we've had. One, can we see something more advanced? Number two, we want more Mac. Why, I don't know. And number three, we like Sean to do stuff. So.
I'm all for all of these things.
That's right.
Especially if I get to play the Lab Rats theme.
Do it again. All right, well, as Sean plays this out, let's take a break. When we come back, how to use GarageBand to become an 80s rock musician, or something like that, after this.
Try this at home.
This episode brought to you by our friends at Hover. The easiest way to buy domain names and do more with them. Get 25% off today by visiting hover.com/labrats. That's fun.
It is fun.
Okay, so today on the show we're going to teach you how to use, basically we can call this segment GarageBand 101.
Yes.
So you're going to show me how to use this program, which of course comes built into the Macintosh iLife suite.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it's just been a revision of it lately in iLife 09, so they've changed things around a little bit. So if you have GarageBand but you haven't upgraded to iLife 09, you can take a look at this and see what you can do that you couldn't before, but it's very similar.
Okay, good.
Anyways.
I'm very excited about this because, you know, in the 80s, I really wanted to be an 80s rock star. And I even had the hair, and I had blonde highlights, and the Duran Duran kind of haircut.
In the pink jumpsuit?
I didn't have that, but you know, had the career followed, probably so would the pink jumpsuit.
I only had the yellow jumpsuit and the red Devo hat. What can I say?
Well,
Anyways.
thank goodness we didn't become 80s musicians. Now we get to teach people how to use this.
Okay, so GarageBand, I think one of the things that a lot of people think is that it's a toy. You get your Mac, you get this, it's free, so it must not be very good. Well, that's not exactly the case. It's actually a very powerful little utility for creating music. A lot of professional musicians, they move on to something else that's a bit higher end, maybe something like Logic Pro, but a lot of them do their sketches in GarageBand. And in fact, a lot of people actually do their entire composition in GarageBand.
Wow.
It is that powerful. Now, all of the themes that we've done for Butterscotch, like the A-List, Mr. Mobile, On Deck, all of those I've done.
You wrote all those?
I've wrote all those, and I put all of those together in GarageBand.
Wow. And also, too, you're famous for writing the theme for the Lab with Leo, too, right?
I did the Lab with Leo theme as well. So,
good.
and I did that in GarageBand.
Wow.
So there's some things you can't do in GarageBand, but you can do a lot of stuff in there and create music that sounds like it was not done in a free program.
So are you promising the folks out there that once they've seen this segment and they can harness GarageBand, they too can write themes for technology shows?
Potentially. I mean, partly it'll help unlock your inner musical talent, or it'll help cover up your lack of, potentially. So,
let's go.
So just to start out, we've got a version, or one of the themes that I did. It's the A-List theme. So you can see that right here, it's basically composed of different tracks, which are all instruments or loops. And they are on a timeline. Basically, one follows the other. So just to play it, you can see that as I play it, it'll run through, the timeline will sweep across. And you can see as things happen, they'll happen in your ears as well. So everything that's happening on that screen corresponds to a sound. So if we go in, for example, to this right here, we can actually see a series of notes that are in that little unit here that I've got. So we've got this thing, this is bubblegum brass, and you can see a little bunch of dots. Those correspond to these things on the keyboard.
Oh, wow. So do you need to know how to write music?
Knowing how to write music will speed the whole process up, but you don't have to. If you have one of these keyboards like this is the M Audio Keystation 49E. It connects by USB. You can actually play. So there's three things that create audio in GarageBand.
Yes.
One of them is software instruments, so you can play. One of them is real instruments. So, for example, you can get a little device like this. This is the M Audio Fast Track Pro.
Right.
And what this is digital to analog converter, or vice versa. It'll go both ways. And what you do is you can plug your guitar. We've got one back here. You can plug your microphone into it. You can plug a turntable into it potentially. You've got inputs and you've got outputs. And then again, it connects via USB to here. And then you can record it straight into GarageBand.
So I can get my electric guitar and I can actually record into the GarageBand like that.
Exactly.
Wow.
So that's those two things. Real instruments, software instruments, which is basically all the information on how to make the sound is built into the computer. And when you press this, it creates a noise inside the computer.
Right.
The third thing is loops. And this is what
So what's a loop?
A loop is a little snippet of sound, whether it's a drum rhythm or a bass rhythm, that basically is structured so that when you play the whole thing and then put it back to back with each other, it creates a pattern. It's a loop. So da 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 da.
That sounds seamless.
Da 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 da. Or like. I mean, why am I doing that with the mouth? Let's just show how that works. So we're going to start right here. This is one that we've already done. So, but let's start from scratch. Do you want to save that? No, we don't. So we're going to have a launch page here that allows us to start from a number of different places. We can start with a piano project, an electric guitar. It supports electric guitar now and has some amplification in there and distortion. You can do with voice, whatever. Let's start with loops, though, because this is, I think, where most people are going to start. So you double-click on that, create a name for it, and Lab Rats Demo. We're going to create a name of the song. So by default, it'll say My Song, and you'll have a whole pile of songs named My Song if you keep that up. So give them names if you know what they're going to be called off the bat. So now we've got like the empty page here. We've got no tracks. We've got a great big spot in the middle that says Drag Apple Loops here. And on the right-hand side, it opens up with loops. So what we want to do is we want to find a beat, first of all. So we're going to hit all drums. And now we've got, down below, we've got a bunch of loops show up so that we can basically choose one of these things. So there's a jazzy drum set. There's a two-step bouncing beat. So you just go through all of these. There's a ton of them here. So once you've found one that you like, I kind of like this one. So you grab it and drag it into the timeline.
Yeah, this gives me an excuse to dance, right?
Yeah. So there you go. So now what we have here is I know the fans love it so much. So we've got this now, one instance of this loop in the timeline here. So when we play it, it's going to play it through. Very good so far, right? But once this is done, that's it. It stops. That's not much of a song. So what you want to do is you want to take this, go up to Edit, Copy, and then Paste. And you can use the usual ones that you get, the usual key commands that you have with other things. So Command C and Command V to copy and paste. So I'm just going to Command V it and just create a whole pile of instances of this beat. So it'll run for a while now.
Wow. So it's like cutting, it's like in a word processor, you cut
it's like word processor.
And repeat.
Exactly. So you can change the scale of your timeline with this so that you can see just this one little bit that I'm working on, or I can see the whole song. So we're going to zoom in a little bit on this. So now we've got this beat. Not much, but besides the beat, obviously. So now we're going to look, uncheck the drums, and we're going to check on the bass. So now we want something to go over top of that. So the drum and bass are the key, your rhythm section, essentially for creating a song. So I don't like that much. So let's, you like the 80s, so let's...
Yes! There we go.
80s dance bass synth. Okay, so we found one that we like. We're going to drag it into the timeline here. Right? Okay, so now it's going to put in there. So now when we play them together, we've got...
Oh, it's starting to sound like a real song.
Again, this one is only one instance of it, so you realign this to where you want to start pasting. Command V, 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 V. And you don't have to just do them all together like this. The great thing about this being loops is you can actually take this one out, so, and every other one out. Okay, so now we've got drum and bass line here. And then it drops out because we took that one loop out there, have a bit of a drum break, and then it'll go back into that.
Whoa,
okay?
Fun.
So now we've got the basic makings of a song with some sort of structure and variation in it. Now, a lot of these...
You know, I could have been Simon Le Bon if I had had this back in the 80s.
This makes it incredibly easy.
I am so upset.
Yeah. Now, what's even better is here, we've got these loops. Now, I didn't just use loops for the compositions that I did. I used the software instruments. So that you can see this synth bass here is actually made up of notes that you can also play on the keyboard. So if you wanted to play it, so let's go over to this part right here, and we're going to start recording. So there's a little record button here, and once we hit record, it'll start recording on this track. Actually, it's by default here. And then at the bottom, you've got play controls, rewind, all that, but you also have this record button. So you can actually, okay. So now when you go back into there, that will be in there. Now here's the nice thing about this. We created loops, we dragged them over. Now you can actually turn this into a loop. So we can bring this over to the place where we want to drop it, copy it, and paste it, and there it is. It's just, now we've turned what we played into a loop. And you can do this with audio samples. You can play your guitar into that and loop your guitar, all of that sort of thing.
I'm in awe. This is fabulous.
So now after that, you want to create all of the other things. You can go back into this, find piano, and play all of that sort of thing. But we want to sort of play around with this a little bit as well. So we've got the synth bass over on the side. We're actually now going to double-click on this, the actual label off to the side. And you'll notice over on the right, it changed things. We've got software instrument. We can actually change it. If we want to turn it into a guitar, we can. But you know what we're going to do? We're actually going to go into edit. What that does is it's going to change the sound on this so that we've got a, by default, it's got several effects already on it. So it's got a compressor, which brings the sound out, and it's got a chorus, which sort of wobbles it a little bit. But we can also click here to add an effect. And what we can do is we can, sort of wreck the sound a little bit. So one of the new hot things in dance music is to create broken kind of sounds. So if we go back to the beginning, we'll hear it sounds like that. Bit Crusher, we can now click on that and adjust the sounds here. So we can actually reduce the sample rate of this. So that when we bring it up like that, and then play it back,
It messes us up a bit.
yeah.
It dirties the sound. I should have been a producer. I should have been a...
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways that you can play with this. You can add an echo. We've got echo and reverb at the bottom. We can EQ it so that it takes out all the low end of the sound.
This is like
and all
Photoshop
that.
filters.
It's like Photoshop filters
Audio
adding to your
filters
sound.
for the sample.
Yeah. The one other thing I wanted to mention about this is when I created all of these tracks initially in this, thank you so much. When I created all these tracks, I started with loops, but then I changed them myself. And you can actually do the same thing yourself by editing. So anything that you've done isn't firm. So if you hit this and you didn't really want to do that, you can actually go and fix it. So by clicking on the loop here, it actually will bring up the notes that you've played, as we showed a bit earlier. So again, you can change the scale here so you can see what you're doing. See, all of these little lines up here will be increments of time, so you can actually line them up properly. But if you don't like this sound here, then you can actually take it and you can move it to a different location. So if you don't like that, it being that particular note, and I got that note wrong, you can bring it up. You can look at this both in terms of these dots on here, which is essentially this goes here. But if you're more professionally inclined, you can actually look at the score too to see how this looks, and you can actually print this out and
Whoa, cool!
and
It's
score
like
it
your own thing.
Right. So
Your
play
own
around
music
with
sheets.
that. Play around with that, and I mean add new instruments as well. You can go up to track, add new track. This is where you would add your own guitar from that device earlier. You can choose software instrument, real instrument, or your electric guitar.
Right.
So real instrument could be your voice. Electric guitar would be your guitar, obviously. And software instrument is what I usually choose to do this because I don't like hooking up all these other things, although I could. And then over on the right-hand side, now you have all of these other different types of things that you bring up. So horns, you can add live funk horns and add all of this and just play that. Play around with the notes, play around with the instruments. What's fun is duplicating something you've already done. So for example, the bass line here, you've got that. You want to maybe copy it. You can go up to track, duplicate track. So now we've got it in 2. We can copy this down. Oops, copy and then go back up to this. Copy it in. But now let's change this to the horns. I'm going to change the instrument setting. I mean, there's just all of these little tricks you can try. So now when we play it, it's playing that bass line as if it was a horn. It doesn't sound particularly good here, but you can play with it, change the timbre, change the type of instrument.
So when you're done all this and you're happy with your new Duran Duran hit track, how do you can export it, or is it all in like some weird format?
Well, it saves it in a GarageBand format, but you can export it. If you couldn't export it, it would sort of eliminate the whole purpose of doing this in the first place.
Yeah, so you can MP3?
MP3 WAV files, you can create it in really high quality ones. You can actually, by going up to the share menu here, you can send it to iTunes, so automatically sync it to your new iPod Shuffle. You can make it a ringtone, for example, and put it to your iPhone. You can export the song to disk or burn it to CD. So what a lot of people are going to want to do to share this with their grandma across the country is they're
going to run a release it and a new album. That's the whole thing.
There we go. So you can export your song to disk. It's you can do it with MP3. You can do it with AAC.
Very cool.
And you can do it in whatever quality you like. And then it'll create a file of that format and put it on your disk. And then you can share it around.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. So there you go. We fulfilled 2 promises. More Sean's, more Mac. Now, one thing we haven't done yet is we haven't seen more cats. We haven't seen more cats. So Sean's going to play a little tune for us as we go to break, and you're going to see what's the Biff and Boo, the resident cats at Lab Rats, are up to these days. After this.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Hover, the easiest way to buy domain names and do more with them. Get 25% off today by visiting hover.com/labrats. How can I play Funky Town if you're doing that?
It's a wah-wah bar. I really like this thing. I've always wanted one of these things, you know? Like you make, you know. It's fun. I've always, my entire life, I've wanted a wah-wah bar.
Ever since you saw Nick Rhodes playing this on Duran Duran?
Yeah, and I do want to mention one thing, by the way. The studio crew here's like, who's Simon Le Bon? Who is he? I'm like, okay, you're 12 and you're 16, right? Simon Le Bon is the lead singer of Duran Duran, in case you didn't know.
The 80s suck!
Yeah, see? It comes from the man with a Megadeth t-shirt and no hair. Anyway, with that, let's move on to some useful content. Mr. Mobile is here again with a new episode that talks about iPhones and Blackberries and all kinds of stuff. So let's take a break and go see him. And when we come back, picture time.
Hi, I'm Jay Goldman, and you're watching Mr. Mobile. On today's show, we're going to take a look at the BlackBerry Storm, one of the latest devices to come from RIM and their first touchscreen device. A little bit of story behind this. Apparently, Apple originally pitched the iPhone to Verizon, being one of the larger networks in the US, and Verizon turned them down, so they went to AT&T. Bit of a mistake for Verizon, as it turns out. Everyone knows the iPhone's very popular. And so Verizon apparently went back to RIM and said to them, hey, we really want a touchscreen device that's going to compete with the iPhone. What can you do for us? And this is the result. Give you a little bit of a size comparison just so you get a sense of how big the device is. This is an iPhone 3G compared to the Storm. So you can see about the same size. You can see roughly the same height. Backs kind of similar to each other. The build is a little bit different on the Storm. It's got a bit of a rubberized grip on it, makes it really nice to hold. Overall, it's a really pretty looking device. Only build quality issue that I noticed with it at all is that sometimes you get a little bit of light leaking from around the touchscreen. Doesn't look all that professional, but otherwise, it's got a nice weight to it, very comfortable to hold in the hand. If you're more of a traditional BlackBerry user, there's a comparison to an 8800, so to give you a sense of the size, again, a little bit thicker, not a whole lot, fits in your pocket quite happily. Both the iPhone and the Storm have capacitive touchscreens on them, which makes them very reactive to when you're touching the screen, which is really nice. The difference with the Storm over the iPhone is that this actually clicks when you're touching it, so you might actually be able to hear that even, very slight. But the difference really is that you can hover over things on the Storm, whereas on the iPhone, as you know, you can only tap on them. So if we take a look on the screen, for example, let's go back to the home screen. I can actually hover, and that selects an item before I click to actually go into, for example, the browser. That's really nice in some places. It's great to have that extra level of interaction with the device. Unfortunately for typing, it actually makes it quite slow. Because you have to click every time you want to press a letter, there's a bit of reaction time as the mechanism pops back out, and that slows down typing on the device quite a lot. I also found that because you can't see the letter underneath your finger, even though it does actually glow before you press it, it's actually a little bit more difficult to press the right letter than it is on an iPhone where the letter pops up above so you can see it around your hand. Overall impressions of the device, it's really pretty to look at. It's running the latest BlackBerry OS, same thing that you find on the Bold or on the new Javelin, which is really nice to look at. But the Storm needs more of an interface that's built around touch, and the BlackBerry OS is really optimized for people who are using a keyboard on the BlackBerry menu or trackball. So I think what we'll hopefully see in the next revision is a lot more touch-aware interface in the OS. Right now it's lagging a little bit behind. The iPhone's definitely a more seamless experience if you do a lot of interaction with the screen. Bottom line, from my opinion, it's a really nice device. It's not quite ready for prime time. I think if you're somebody who does a lot of email and typing on your phone, you probably want a BlackBerry. The new Javelin's really nice. I would recommend that, or a Bold. If you're somebody who wants to do things beyond just email and typing on your phone, maybe you do a lot of web browsing, you want to play games, install apps, you watch a lot of movies, the iPhone is definitely the right choice for you. Storm is really interesting to watch. We'll see how it comes out in the next revision of it. Until then, I'd hold off. This has been Mr. Mobile. I'm Jay Goldman. Thanks for watching. Check out butterscotch.com for more shows.
Are you done playing with that?
I love it. This is fun. This is a great. My idea of doing this was really good.
It was fantastic.
I liked it a lot.
Now, we mentioned earlier that this is GarageBand, but a lot of these principles that we showed off actually apply to other programs that are out there, like Fruity Loops, which you can download at twocows.com as well.
So I just had a little 80s moment.
That wasn't the 80s, man. That was the future.
Okay, let's look at pictures.
It was a bad future, too.
It was.
First up, we did an episode a while back on power solutions.
Oh, yeah.
Vampire power.
Right.
And our viewer, Ian, has his power down unit here, which is a device that when he turns off his computer, everything else connected through this goes off shortly afterwards.
Huh.
So again, master control unit.
When I first saw this picture, I thought he'd licked his finger and he's about to electrocute himself. It's like, lab rats, no more Windows stuff or I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that,
No.
thankfully.
Thankfully, okay, good.
But yeah, try making sure that when you do poke towards the outlet that it isn't open and about the size of your finger.
And
are any of the outlets in the world finger-shaped? I hope not.
That's right.
Most of them seem small enough.
Is
Be
it
careful.
English, and what's his name, Ian?
He's English and he's Ian, yes.
Thank you so much, Ian.
And yeah, so there you go. Next up,
Yes.
we have Robbie. Yeah, he is running low on memory, he says. So what he's done here is
That's
he's
very nice.
shoved 50 grapes into his mouth.
50.
50 grapes.
Wow.
And again, I don't know why you would shove 50 grapes in your mouth, take a picture, and then send it to us, but
Top quality content here on Lab Rats. Oh my God, that's
there
great.
you go. Thank you for sending that, Robbie.
All right, awesome.
And that's that.
And that's that, and that's all that needs to be said.
Now, if you can do 51 grapes,
That's right.
Make sure you
us
send
your
a
pictures
picture
and
in.
We'll send you. No, you can send your pictures too.
if you can send 51 grapes or more into your mouth, then send it to us at labrats.tv.
Or more simply.
Feedback at labrats.tv will work a little bit better.
Right.
It's a bit easier to type.
And I did want to mention a little promo we have going on right now. This is the Butterscotch t-shirt. It's very nice. As you can see, it's nice butterscotchy orange, yellow.
It's butterscotchy.
You can be wearing this shirt or one like it real soon if you send us a little note to feedback at labrats.tv that says, Dear Andy and Sean, or Dear Sean and Andy, my favorite episode on butterscotch.com, my favorite show on butterscotch.com is, and then insert show name here.
But not Labrats.
Not
We're already
Labrats.
watching that right now. We want to see what you like from the other shows.
The other
that we're
shows,
doing.
yeah, because we have like hundreds of tutorials there, and there's the A-list, and there's Mr. Mobile, and there's Miss Download, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. So send us your favorite show, your favorite episode, and tell us why you like that episode. And if we pick your email, we're going to send you one of these gorgeous, high-quality, made in China butterscotch t-shirts in the size that will fit you.
Sold.
There you go. All right. Anyway, that's it for us. Don't forget to check out shows while you're there from butterscotch.com. There's lots of Labrats episodes there and tutorials, as I said. Or you can just see what we're doing over there. There you go. Anyway, anything else
Sure.
to add, Mr. Carruthers, before we're done? No?
Nope.
Nothing at all?
Nope.
You're all music tab? Okay. All right, well, thanks for watching this week. Thanks for pushing play or downloading us, however you got to us. My name is Andy Walker,
I'm Sean Carruthers.
and we'll see you next time.
Are you ready? Try this at home.
Seriously, what's with the 80s references?
80s rocks. 80s is the last word in good music.
Oh my god.
Everything Apple made after that was crap.
80s was the last word in good music. It killed all good music.
Oh, 80s rocks.
Terrible.